Okay, today we are going to be learning Siman Tafresh Mem Daled. This is the last Siman of the halachas of Suka, and it's a short Siman. That's what we've been doing this year, all of these short Simanim. So we're going to start from the Mishna Berura over here, and then we will resume on Thursday morning with some topics pertaining to Chol. The Shulchan Aruch, well, the title of the Siman is Seder Hallel Kol Yemei HaChag. This is the order of Hallel during the entire Sukkes, Ubo Bei Sifim. And it has two Sifim over here. Shulchan Aruch says, Shacharis, Acher chazaras Nitilת lulav. That in Shacharis, in the morning, after we finish chazaras hashas, when the chazan says Shmona Esrei, so we take the lulav. This itself is a major discussion because we know that the Mishna Berura quotes that Arizal several times throughout the halachas of the daven minim, and says that there's a custom to really take the lulav and shake it when a person is in the actual sukkah before davening. But you see from the Shulchan Aruch that you do it after. That's what we see. We recite the beracha of al netilas lulav and שהחינו. There's a whole question why the text of this beracha is al netilas lulav, on literally the taking of the lulav, as opposed to al ninue ha lulav, which would be like the moving of the lulav or the shaking of the lulav, because after all we're shaking it a lot. So we'll have to come back to that and see if we could discover explanation that will quench our thirst for this proper answer. And we recite the beracha of שהחינו. Now, there's a major discussion regarding the שהחינו, which we already discussed around a week ago, which is, we already said the שהחינו the night before on the Sukkah, building of the Sukkah on the actual Yontif, so why can't that שהחינו cover this one? So, simple explanation to that is actually very simple. That שהחינו was recited at night, which is not the time of taking the daven minim yet. So that's why I can't cover. But anyways, v'goimrim ha'halel, and we finish the Hallel. There's a full Hallel that we say every single day. V'chein kol shmonas yimei chag, and similarly, this is what's done all 8 days of Sukkos. This is what's done. We follow this order. And Sukkos, unlike Pesach, is unique because we say a full Hallel. And the reason why we say a full Hallel is because every single day is different from the previous day, because we start with 13 korbanos that we bring, at least when the base of Mikdash is around 13 sacrifices, and every single day we do one less, we decrease the amount. Now, umevarchim ligmor sahal, according to the Shulchan Aruch, we don't do this nowadays, but there used to be a text to say ligmor sahal, to complete the Hallel. We do what we do, whether it's a full Hallel or it's not a full Hallel, where we leave some of the parts of Hallel out. We say so we don't say ligmor. Bein b'tzibur bein b'yachad. This is halacha whether a person is with a group or whether if he's an individual. In mafsikin bo ala kederach she'amru b'kriyas shema. We don't interrupt. It's like a lot of halachas in one sif. We don't interrupt. Ve'in mafsikin bo. We don't interrupt. Ala kederach she'amru b'kriyas shema. Except the way that it's done during Shema. Meaning be'emsa shol mibnei yira, u'meisha mibnei kavod. Meaning in the middle. So we ask because of fear, which means that you could initiate already the discussion with someone else if there's a concern of a danger, or fearful scenario. U'meishiv mibnei kavod, and you could respond to someone out of honor. An honorable person, you could respond. The truth of the matter is, this itself is already a major discussion, which we discussed many, many years ago in Siman Samach Vav, and we no longer really verbally interrupt pretty much. unless it's absolutely necessary. Obviously, if it's a life-threatening sort of situation. Other than that, we don't really. Meishiv b'nei hakavod, bein haprakim shel b'nei hakavod, u'meishiv l'kol adam. So bein haprakim, in between the chapters, in between the capitals in Tehillim, you could start a conversation because of honor. Hold on. Honor. And you could answer to anyone. Answer to anyone. V'im pasuk be'emsa. If a person interrupted in the middle, v'shaha, and delayed afilu kedei ligmar skula, even the amount of time that it takes you to finish the entire Hallel, inu sarach lachzor lemakom shepasuk. You only need to return to the place where you interrupted. This itself is something which is a very interesting concept over here. The concept of being shoyha kedei ligmor as kula. It's talking about a lot of people don't even know this halacha exists, but it's in the Gemara all over the place. This concept that if a person is in the middle of something, for example, let's say Shema, and then in the middle of Shema he goes to the bathroom or whatever it is, middle of the paragraph of the Hallel, let's say, and then he returns. Could he continue Shema, or does he need to go back to the beginning? Any interruption is applied to, not just going to the bathroom in the middle. So we hold that there's a difference if it was a willing interruption versus if it was an onus. Was it considered an extenuating circumstance that you had to interrupt for? Or you just stopped because you just wanted to stop? You could have continued if you wanted. So if it's going to be that you needed to interrupt, so then we say if you delay more than the amount of time that it takes you to finish, then you need to go back to the beginning. So when the Shulchan Aruch over here says that if your interruption was greater than the amount of time it takes you to finish the entire Hallel, you don't need to go back, assuming that's referring to if it was a willing interruption. Hallel Shulchan Aruch says, with Hallel, even 10 people could recite Hallel at once. And the simple explanation for this is it's usually we say trei kol mishtame, two voices can't be heard at once. Two people try talking to at once, it's hard to hear both of them. Nevertheless, by Hallel, since it's not frequently recited, like on a daily basis, it's more of occasional, it's haviva. It's very dear, and therefore yehivu dasai, everyone will pay attention. That is the Shulchan Aruch over here. Pretty much straightforward. Let's go to the Mishna Berura. Mishna Berura and Aleph. Shulchan Aruch says, Shachris in the morning after chazaras hashas, you take the lulav. The Torah isa de mashkimin v'hu mishum zrizim aktil lemitzvus ki l'kayim mitzvus lulav. Torah says you get up early on Sukkes morning because you want to be quick to perform a mitzvah to fulfill the mitzvah of lulav, and then he quotes the Bach also in parentheses. The Torah writes, Shachris mashkimin lebeis hakneses. You get up early. Sadrun, berachos, etc. And then he continues. That's the whole Torah. 4 words. Shachris mashkimin lebeis hakneses. You get up early. So the Bach comments. This is on the bottom as the Bach. He's on the left side, and then it continues on the bottom. Afal gav. To be Yom Tov ma'achmin k'dem rinam and Megillah mishum shesart lo shush b'sudos. Even though that on Yom Tov we typically go to shul later, like the Gemara Megillah on Chav Gimel says, because we need to burden ourselves with the meal of Yom Tov, preparing the meal. Nevertheless, mikol makom ma'acher. Be'erev Yom Tov rishon shel chad terudim v'mitzvah Suka v'uluvin ragim la'achin arbe l'suda. Nevertheless, Sukkes is unique because there are so many preparations that are needed for this holiday. such as being involved with attaining the daven minim, hadasim lulav, berachos esrog, and the building, the construction of the sukkah. Therefore, less food is made. I guess they didn't see what goes on in New York in the time of the Bach. They didn't have New York, but
Oh,
what did you say?
no, it's just funny. Yeah, yeah. The Sukkes, especially, a lot of food.
A lot of food. They didn't see bingo parking lot. And it's only a couple years old. That place backs up all the traffic to the 878. Crazy. Anyways, like Taisva says, so therefore you get up early because you have less food. It's not such a burden with the Yom Tov meal as much, and therefore it's better to get up. Therefore, says the Bach, it's better to get up early on Yom Tov morning to recite Shema in its proper time. Inami, an additional explanation is Mishum's reason makdim the mitzvah lulav. You're going to be quick to perform the mitzvah of lulav. It's very interesting. And then he goes into a side point at the end, a question from Shmini Atzeres, why maybe we get up early even though it's Yontif, because there's a very long davening, Kroibitz, and you're talking about the Tvilas Geshem, and you're mentioning Yizkor, you have Yizkor over there, it's a long davening, you get up early. Okay, fine. Side point. This is
Especially in
very,
Eretz Yisrael with some Torah now.
what?
Especially in Eretz Yisrael with some Torah.
That's right, very, very long. Might even be longer than Rosh Hashanah. So this is the Torah, this is the Bach. Um, there's a very interesting discussion. Is the reason Magdim and the mitzvah applies to the mitzvah of shofar or not? I would assume, meaning, let's say I never learned the halachas of Rosh Hashanah, I would assume why not? You should perform any mitzvah early. Well, why not? Because there's a well-known Arizal, which we already discussed, the Mishna Berura quotes in many places. They're quoted all over the place, this Arizal. It's quoted all over the place. Before you go to daven in shul, you take your daven minim and you shake them in the lulav, and there you say the beracha. So there's a question, why don't we say that by Rosh Hashanah? You know how to blow shofar? Blow the shofar before you get to shul to do it early. What to think about on that question? So, Oz Vahadar Mishna Berura. Oz Vahadar Mishna Berura comments over here and says, we take the lulav and we do it standing, specifically standing. And we say the beracha of al netilas lulav. We don't say a beracha on the shaking of the lulav, even though it's a mitzvah to shake, because the main mitzvah from the Torah itself is just to take the lulav. You don't need to shake it. The pasuk says, "Lakachtam lachem," just take it, pick it up. Shaking the lulav is a concept that's midrabanan. That's from the rabbis, and therefore that's why the beracha is specifically recited on the main obligation, aka the taking of the lulav. Yeah. Then they quote the Bach, which we already saw, so we don't need to double that up. How do you know you need to stand for the bracha that we recite on the lulav? The answer to that one is actually quite simple. Lavosh Gezeda Shava says in two psukim lachem for you. It says by Sirius Omer, counting of the Omer, it says lachem, and it says over there kama. Atuku kama, elbakaima, whole discussion, just like over there by Sirius standing. So to over here on Sirius is the model mitzvah that we learn at all other mitzvahs that we need to stand. Or there's another Gezerah Shava Kicha Lakachtem Lachem Agudis Ezov explains the Shibboleth like it. So we basically know from Gezerah Shavas There's other explanations also. Mishnah in Rosh Hashanah Tezayin says that we're judged on the water, on Sukkes, and these daven minim that we take help us with this judgment. And therefore, if you're in court, you got to stand beis din. Also, you got to stand for Hallel anyway, shake it. Even though we recite the beracha before Hallel on the lulav, nevertheless, on the daven minim, they didn't want to differentiate, and they said you should just stand. Dr. John points out that if you need to stand during a mitzvah, you need to stand during that beracha as well. Why don't we say al lakichas lulav? Why do we say al netilas lulav? Because lakicha, taking, in the language of the rabbis, is called netila. So netila can mean lifting it up. Therefore, it's al netilas lulav. Another reason is we don't want to mess up the letters. The Rab explains if we would say al lakichas, there would be two lamids that were right next to each other, the al and lakichas, ending with the lamid and starting with the lamid. You can mess that up, cause a person to slur the word. In fact, there's halacha in Siman Samachalef and Hilchos Kriya Shema that whenever you have a word that ends with the same letter that the next word starts with, for example, al lulavecha, right? And there's many other examples as well. You should pause a little bit in between so that you don't slur it. People don't know the halacha. And I think, in fact, in a lot of the Siddurim, they don't even mark it off to pause at that juncture. A lot of other places, they do mark it off, but there they don't. Mishna Berura continues and says, you don't say el na on the first day of Sukkes. This is talking about in the yoitzeros of shacharis. Most people don't do this anyways. When the chazan, right before kedusha, when he does his chazaras hashas, it's called yoitzeros. You don't say it on the first day. You say in its place as Isa Anaya Suko. Shugam kin shuvashava kamal. No, you say that instead. It's a piyut. במקום שמחבחן הסדר כשחל בשבס יום ראשון, אז ראוי לאמר על נא ביום ראשון ולא ביום שני. In a place where they switch around the order. When it falls out on Shabbos, the first day. Talking about when the first day of Sukkes. Just sitting over here. It's a little bit over here. Okay, this is talking about where they change the layout of the yotzros. And what you do when the first day of Sukkes falls out on Shabbos. So in that case, you would say the yotzros of the second day. And the second day of Yom Tov, you would say the yotzros of the first day. And that is because the reason for this is the yotzros on the first day primarily deals with the daven minim. And when it falls out on Shabbos, you're not taking the daven minim. So therefore, it's better to switch the yotzros. And on the first day, you would do the second day of yotzros. And on the second day, you do the first day of yotzros, because that's the first day when you're going to take the daven minim when the first day of Sukkot falls out on Shabbos. Mishna Berura continues, what do you do in that case? As Ra'ui Loimer, it's fitting to say El Nabi Yom Rishon v'lo Yom Sheni. You should say El Na on the first day, not the second day. Va'olam lo nohaguki, and the custom is not this way. Bishlu yodu time shall davar. You know the reason of this. You say Al Netilas Lulav and you say Shachiano. First you say Al Netilas Lulav. Ba'acher kachina neya. And then you shake it after the berachos. Siman Tafresh and Aleph Sefet also implied from over there. Correct. This beracha of Shachianu goes on fulfilling the mitzvah. Alkane, after Esma Balayla Be'er Shachianu, and therefore, even though on the previous night you made the beracha of Shachianu, Sham Hayal Mitzvah Suka Val Yom Tov, as we learned. Over there, the Shachianu was on the mitzvah Sukkah on the Yom Tov itself, on the holiday of Sukkot itself. V'zehu al mitzvah lulav, but this Shachianu that you're reciting now is on the actual mitzvah of lulav. So the question is, let's say a person took the lulav on the first day but didn't recite the beracha of Shachianu. You're able to recite the beracha all 7 days whenever you remember, and specifically at the time when you are taking the lulav. If you say the beracha of Shachianu on the first day, you don't need to say it anymore on the second day. Something is bothering me about this. It's rubbing me the wrong way. Why is it that if you didn't say the beracha of Shachianu on the first day, of Yom Tov, so it says over here, you're able to say it whenever you want, when you take the lulav specifically. I think what this means is this is optimally you should take it when you take the lulav. However, oh no. Okay, it's not bothering me. Yeah. In other words, this is what would bother me. Usually we say if you didn't say Shachianu in the beginning of Yom Tov, you could say it whenever you want. Filu b'shuk, even in the marketplace. But over here, you already said a Shachianu on the holiday itself of Sukkes. Now the explanation is that you need to say a Shachianu on the daven minim. That you can only do if you have the daven minim. So if you didn't do it on the first day, you could do it on any other day, assuming that you have the daven minim with you, because the Shachianu is only going on the daven minim. Figured out what was bothering me. We always juxtapose we always say the beracha prior to performing the mitzvah. It's a Gemara Pesachim Daf Vav. Right? We do it by shofar also, with the Shachianu also over there on the Seder as well. So that's the idea over here. Yeah, that's what they say over here. You weren't obligated in lulav yet when you recited the Shachianu on the first night of Sukkot, so it wouldn't count. Even though the first day there's an obligation from the Torah to take the daven minim, unlike the other days, it's only from the rabbis that obligation. It's midrabanan. So we still say that the Shachianu would work if you would say it other days if you didn't say it on the first day. Because we do say Shachianus even on mitzvahs that are just from the rabbis, for example, lighting Ner Chanukah. And therefore, the Shachianu would in fact work. That is the explanation of the lulav. All the days of Yontif we recite Hallel. Pesach the medalgan. It's not like Chol Moed Pesach where we would skip. We wouldn't say full Hallel mishum de besukkos kol yom chashuv kiyom tu b'fnei atzmo kiven shechalu korbanoisav miyom shalafana. Because on Sukkos, every single day is considered like a holiday, special Yom Tov, independently because the quantity of korbanos is different. The amount of korbanos that you bring is different, like we said before. As opposed to on Pesach, Chol Moed, all the korbanos, they're equivalent when the base of Mikdash was around. Unlike Sukkot, it would be one less every single day, starting from 13, going to 12, 11, etc. Another reason for this, which is explained, Siman Tov Beites, Mishna Berura, actually was Sirius Omer, because of the day of at the end of Pesach and Shvi Shel Pesach, that's when the Egyptians drowned, the splitting of the sea, Kriyas Yamsuf. And therefore, you weren't able to sing and say Hallel because Hashem's creations were drowning. And therefore, since we wouldn't say a full Hallel on the end of Pesach, Shrisha Pesach, we also wouldn't do a Chol Hamoed as well. Because Chol Hamoed shouldn't be better than the last day of Pesach. And we make the bracha ligmor to complete Hallel, but look earlier in our provinces, the b'midin aseinu aminag lavorech likrois Hallel. Custom is to recite the bracha of likrois Hallel. We don't say ligmor as Hallel anymore. We don't really do that one. Mishna Berura writes, if the Evid post facto, a person did recite the bracha of ligmor Hallel as a Hallel, you would still fulfill your obligation. And in places that do so, you shouldn't nullify the mitzvah. And you should still do so. The Mishna Berura continues in Vav. Person should say the whole Hallel, whether as an individual or if he's part of a group, or to Leimer. This is not like Rosh Chodesh and Chol Hamoed Pesach. The Kama Poiskim Mavarchin Arizal Hallel Afilu B'Tzibur. According to many poskim, you wouldn't say a bracha on Hallel even in a group, a congregation. Especially this would apply to an individual, where you wouldn't say Hallel. There, according to some opinions on Rosh Chodesh. The Shama Halu Rak Minhag Shel Kol Yisrael. Over there, the Hallel on Rosh Chodesh is just a custom that all the Jews accepted upon themselves. Unlike over here in Sukkes, Aval Bezed Medina, who over here is from the letter of the law, we say Hallel. And therefore we recite the bracha according to everyone, whether an individual or a group of people. Yeah. So that would be the this is why on Rosh Chodesh a person should be ever so careful to recite Hallel with a group, with a minyan, in order to get out of the shaila. That's what the Gemara in Tainus says, Kaf Ches Amud Beis. Already went through that. Already put a video up on that. And it's Minhag Avosinu B'Yadeinu. It's a custom to say Hallel on Rosh Chodesh as opposed to on Sukkes, in the letter of the law. In Mafsiki Menon Joab Kosev Chayadam Mishna Berura Zayin. She'im Heviu Lo Lulav B'Emtza Hallel. If they brought you lulav in the middle of Hallel, you weren't able to recite the bracha on it before. You could interrupt between chapters of the Hallel, meaning between Mizmor and between the capital. In Hallel, you could interrupt to even recite the bracha. A rare case nowadays, but it happens, you gotta know what to do. Interruptions are similar to Shema and Hallel. Everything is explained earlier in Siman Taf Tkes. That's the halachas of Hallel on the Seder night, if I'm not mistaken. Hallel was a Hallel, right? Regarding Hallel on the first 2 days of Pesach, where we would say the full Hallel. Below kefalo hacha. It's only doubled up over here and says it again to teach us the Suka shavim baziladina kol shmeinas yama. That Sukkah is going to be equal all 8 days. And for us in Simchas Torah, we would be included in this. So in other words, these halachas are being discussed again over here to teach us that you would do a full Hallel on Sukkos. not only would you do a full Hallel for the first few days, but the entire time you would. And for us in Chutzlar, it's also on Simchas Torah, it's included in this, where there would be the Gambo going Mahal, where you would say a full Hallel, do Safek Shmini, because you're not sure if it's the eighth day or not. Eighth day of like Sukkes. The Emsa Shol in the middle, you could ask, Beer called Dvar Meilu, Atzof Asim verse, Mishna Berura. Explanation of all of this is in some in Tough tkes. See over there. Any questions, comments, on anything that we did so far?
Now we learned previously that that between Shmona Esrei and Hallel, you shouldn't be mafsik as well, right?
I mean, yeah, should not, but it would be more lenient than during Hallel itself.
Let's say if a person, is hungry, and you're in for a Pavarati Hallel.
Yeah. What do you want to do in between?
What do you want to do?
Little
You want to make
snack.
kiddush?
A little snack. Oh,
Yeah, a
kiddush.
little snack.
Yeah.
You want to make kiddush?
Preferable
What?
not to.
Preferably not to. But let's say this is a long one. It's like a 15-minute Hallel, 20
Again,
minutes.
it'd probably be preferable not to.
It's better to do it after Hallel if there's time. Let's say they sell the aliyahs.
Right, that would definitely be better to even do it after laning if possible, but yeah.
After laning's better.
If I'm not mistaken. You could probably probably better to do it after the Kaddish after Hallel.
Yeah. Let's get the Kaddish after Hallel. Yeah.
Yeah. I would assume after laning is best. Then after that, after the Kaddish after Hallel, and then before that, before Hallel.
Huh. Okay.
Yeah. Here's the idea. It's chaviv. Hallel is dear, so multiple people could do it at once, commemorate the miracle. And this is in the Gemara Megillah, Chaf Aleph and Bebeis, Rosh Hashanah, Chaf Zayin. She explains it's deer because it's new. It doesn't happen as much. It's not like laning. It's every 3 days. One other point over here to share. I mean, a few other quick points. We only have a few minutes left. It's a timeline here, 4.5 minutes. There's a Piskei Chuvas that was very, very short on the Siman. He doesn't say much in the beginning. He has this little paragraph. Some say that if you didn't say שהחינו on the first night, on the first day when you took the lulav, it's better to try to get in a nice garment or a nice fruit. Say שהחינו on that with the lulav in front of you on other days, because some are unsure if you would say שהחינו later on. Simple explanation, you would, but if you could do this, why not? I don't know. You have nothing to lose by doing this. All right, this is one point that he says. The Dirshu has a little bit more to say over here. They bring up a few points. They go into reason baktim mitzvahs, maybe reciting the beracha of the daven before davening also. And then there's a lot of discussions about tadir v'shein tadir kodem. Whatever is more common comes first. How then could you recite the beracha on the lulav? So one answer to that question is that tadir only applies, something that's more common comes first, if both mitzvahs are in front of you right now and you're ready to perform them. But if they're not in front of you, or if there's another reason that you should wait on another mitzvah, then tadir doesn't apply. So that was a interesting idea. I discussed some other technical points about שהחינו, but anyways, that's the Siman. It's a short Siman, so I mean this year I might have not felt that we got so much done with the halachas of Suka, but we did. We did 4 full Simanim. We did Siman Taf Resh Mem Aleph Beis Gimel and Daled, and a lot of them are short, but we did a lot, and a lot of them we did it like a few weeks ago, so it might not be as fresh like right before Sukkes. But we did it at the end of the day. Maybe I'll try to email over like the notes of what we did so everyone could review it before Yontif, which would be a nice idea. And it slowly builds. Every single year you just grow slowly until you eventually finish the whole thing. So and it's not like we accepted this upon ourselves just to learn it for months and months. We just spent a couple weeks on it. We still have our set learning that we're doing with Siman Reish Gimel and everything. So that's the story, and we'll resume Thursday, Mitzvah Hashem. Resume Thursday. Everyone should have
Mitzvah
a good
Hashem.
Yontif. Yeah.
Amen. All right. Enjoy Baltimore.
All right, Shkach.
All right, have a good Yontif.
All right,